Hey guys, how you doing? Just getting off work. Just ate a big burrito, so if I'm like this whole time, now you know why that's happening. Just on my way home, picked up some necessary supplies for tonight. I got tomorrow off, so it's gonna be a nice relaxing evening. I'm hoping to do some writing tomorrow. It's been a long time since I've done some writing because I kind of got tired of having my heart broken. Because every time I sit down to do some writing, something comes by and rips me away from it, and I've had laptops stolen, I've had sudden moves, I've had all kinds of things, but it's worth the risk. It's worth the risk. So tomorrow I'm going to sit down, do some writing. Wish me luck. So things to talk about today. I think the first thing to talk about, first of all, the Labour Minister of Canada, I forget her name, isn't that always the way? Anyway, the Minister of Labour has said today that the basic income is on the table. I think they should go beyond on the table. I think that they should go to absolutely supporting it. I think they should pass legislation, obviously. I think to do anything but requires a kind of cruel barbarity, which definitely exists in our society. Just today, man, I walked by several homeless people on the way home, right? They sit on the street here in Queen Street all day long, begging for change. I try to help them out as I can. But there was one lady, and there's this one lady, she sits there all the time, and she's just like, she looks just like a sweet older lady. And every time you pass her, she tells you about how she's on disability, but it's not enough to cover her living expenses, and it isn't. And so she has to be out on the street begging for scraps. And just today I see some asshole walking by her, and he goes, and he just talks down at her as he's walking by. Tells her, you know, you got your Canadian pension too, you know, like she's an idiot who obviously hasn't, like, oh, you just haven't looked into this stuff. As if somebody's just gonna, oh, I guess I'm gonna go out on the street and not actually look into what my options are. And it's just like, this is what these people have to deal with day in, day out. Just assholes, treating them like garbage because our society has abandoned them. Which is exactly what's happened to her, right? We talk about people slipping through the cracks. It's like, the only reason people can slip through the cracks is because the system has been intended to do that. It's been built in order to allow people to slip through the cracks. And we just shrug. Like, we could easily create a system where people don't slip through the cracks. It's called basic income. Everyone gets it. Everyone gets a piece of it. Everything's totally fine. This idea that we need to have a series of like checkboxes and a series of yes/no questions and a series of this, that, and the other thing to make sure to see if we should withhold the necessities from people. It's just gross. It's just absolutely gross. And we can do better, and we should do better. And so we've got the throne speech coming up, and I just say it plainly, right? If the basic income is not announced as an actual policy on the throne speech, I'm not interested in the Liberal Party, and everyone should abandon them completely. Like, it's basic income or bust for me. That's how you get my support, and if you're not going to support that, I have no interest in you. Not even as a politician or a political pundit or any of that kind of stuff. I just don't have interest in you as a person. I just think you're reprehensible, honestly. If you're going to look at me and say, yeah, homeless people starving on the street, that's fine so that billionaires can have money just jammed into their offshore accounts that help no one, I think there's something mentally wrong with you. I've made a video about that, though, so I don't need to go into it. So the big thing that's coming up before the throne speech, and I'm going to put this link in the description because I actually think it's really important, and the more people that actually see this, the better it's going to be. The Green Party is putting on and I'm shocked that it's the Green Party and the NDP couldn't get their act together on this, but the Green Party put together a, like, council, if you like, but they're putting together a panel discussion of extremely well-educated people in the subject of the basic income on the 17th of September at 7 p.m. It's an online Zoom thing. I'll put the link in the description. I think people should tune in. If it wasn't for the short timeline, I would have organized something. I would have organized a day in the park or some kind of thing, but it was announced like 6-7 days ago, or I found out about it 6-7 days ago. Let's be fair. So I'm doing the best I can to send out that information and get people to know about it as much as I can, because it is going to be, given the people who are on the panel, like the one I'm most familiar with is Evelyn Ferguson, Evelyn Ferguson is the reason, in my view, why the basic income conversation sparked and was renewed once again here in Canada. She's an economist, and a professor from the University of Manitoba, my home province, and she was the one who dug up the Dauphin experiment. It had all of the information about the Dauphin experiment had been buried. Throughout the 70s, there was a basic income pilot that was tried in Dauphin, and as is the narrative, a liberal government got switched over to a conservative government, and the conservatives immediately stopped the basic income, because anything that isn't sociopathic capitalism must be stopped. And then years later, Evelyn Ferguson finds these files, the information from this experiment, buried somewhere. And so she goes through them and finds out that the basic income was wonderfully good for everybody. It helped everybody out an awful lot. And there are other panelists on it. It isn't just Evelyn Ferguson. She's the one I'm most familiar with. I'm surprised that they weren't able to get Hugh Segal, who's a conservative senator, although perhaps he felt that because there was such a heavy university presence, there's several professors from all across Canada on this panel. Perhaps he felt just let them carry the day. And of course I'm realizing just as I'm talking, like, he's a senator, or a former senator, probably doesn't want to involve himself with a political affiliate. Of course. What am I talking about? Sorry, Hugh Segal, I'm sure you're watching this. I met Hugh Segal once and made an idiot of myself in front of him. But nothing. What else is new? I feel like I make an idiot of myself in front of most people most of the time. So to me, this is going to be the most important event between now and the throne speech, because this is going to be the most concrete argument in favor of a basic income that you will find. You're not going to find a stronger support for the basic income than this. And it's going to be the most educated people in Canada, or at least some of the most educated people in Canada on the issue, talking about the issue. And in this climate right now, like, we need to be listening to the experts. We need to be listening to people who have studied these things. We need to be listening. This was a real streak that exists here in North America and in Western capitalism generally, which just refuses to acknowledge that they'll say that expertise matters, but only if it benefits capitalists, right? If you have an engineering degree, they're obviously going to listen to you as an engineer because they can use your engineering skills. But if you're a scientist, a climate scientist, an environmental scientist, they'll just fucking ignore you. Like, you don't even exist as far as they're concerned. And especially if you stand up and you say, hey, capitalism's destroying us. Maybe we should do something else. Then they'll really fucking ignore you. And it really just does seem like anytime I talk to anybody, like I go online and I do online posts and I talk to people. And the people who are against a basic income are against a basic income because they want to hurt people. That's really what it is. They think that people deserve to be hurt. They think that putting money into offshore accounts for billionaires is great because they earned it. It's like this sociopathic need and this desire to subjugate oneself to powerful people and inflict harm on the weak. It's like a fetish. It's a form of fetishism at this point. That if a person is wealthy and powerful, you have to subserviate yourself to them because that's how you get ahead, right? It's that like Nazi justification that, oh, it's, you know, just how you get ahead in life is you subjugate yourself to the powerful and you do what they say. And of course what they say is good because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be so powerful because power justifies itself, right? You don't need to have a moral center. You don't need to have a moral core. You don't need to actually understand or look at ethical issues, right? Power justifies itself. I am powerful, therefore I am correct. And that does seem to be where a substantial number of people seem to fall when it comes to these conversations. That starving people begging for change on the street, you can look down on them and belittle them because if they didn't want to be weak, they should be powerful. And obviously they can't be powerful because they're weak. And so they're worthy of our scorn. Because only people who have power are good. Right? And it sounds childish because it is childish, right? Like it sounds childish because it is childish. And we are entering this era now where it's like the people who are against something like a basic income are childish, right? They don't actually understand. Like, my favorite is when I get told that I don't understand how an economy works by someone who thinks trickle-down economics is legitimate. That's my favorite. When somebody actually is like, you don't know how an economy works, don't you know? The rich get super rich and then they give us money. And I'm supposed to take that seriously? Like, I'm supposed to take seriously some 80-year-old boomer who, like, literally glided through his life because of the struggle of the labor movement, because of the struggle of his own parents, because of the handouts that his generation received, and then they turn around and dismantle our society, and then wonder why the millennial generation has, like, so much less than any generation that preceded it. And the Zoomers are in for it, man. Like, the millennials can at least catch, like, a fingernail's piece of it. The millennials are just, the Zoomers are just fucked. They're just fucked. Even the rich ones. Like, they're just fucked. Like, climate change is going to rip through this society, and it's going to cause massive, massive distortions. And if we don't lay the foundation of a basic income now, then it's just going to revert to complete barbarism. People will be fighting, like, you know how people fought over toilet paper when COVID started? You know how people ran out and started hoarding toilet paper? Okay, that, but it's food, right? That, but it's fresh water, right? If we don't start laying the foundations of creating a more equitable and just society now, then when the Zoomers are 40, right, they'll be killing each other over food. And that's just the truth. And I think if you disagree with that, there's something going on in there. There's something kind of going on in there, right? If you can't imagine a world that is going to be problematic if we don't actually do something about this for people in 20, 30 years, you need to zip it. You need to zip it, and you need to start thinking a little bit more. I don't really have much respect for these old boomer types. Like when Stephen Harper said, oh yeah, climate change is going to be an issue for my grandchildren to deal with. That'll be a problem when I'm dead. My response to the boomers that are saying that now is, okay, well, go along with it. Oh, it's going to be a problem when you're dead. Well, then hurry up. Oh yeah, they'll deal with that when I'm long dead. Well, then hurry up. Come on, get to it, boomer. Let's go. You're not going to deal with the problem. You're not going to help us out. Oh, okay. Well, then die. Right? Like if you're one of these people that's like, that's going to be a problem when we're dead. We don't need to do anything about that. Well, then hurry it up. Let's go. Let's actually get to a place where we can actually start helping and start actually doing something about it. And if that's when you're dead, then please, as quickly as you can, let's go. Unless you actually want to start voting rationally and thinking clearly and actually doing something to help your grandchildren, maybe you should. So yeah, I think that there is a lot of movement happening with the basic income. There is a lot of interest in it. There's a lot of pressure, obviously. There's a lot of tension going on right now. And still that throne speech is going to be a real seminal moment, not only for the Liberal Party, but for Canadians generally, right? And my view cannot be stated more cleanly. If the Liberals announce their support for a basic income on the throne speech, then we should put their feet to the fire and actually make them pass it, using the NDP as the cudgel in order to get it done. And if they don't, then we should consider them radical right-wing fascists along with the Conservatives. We should consider them no different than the Conservative Party, in my view. And our objective in the next election should be the complete destruction of the Liberal Party, like what happened under Ignatieff. That we should simply tell them straight out, you pass the basic income and we will allow you to remain a political force in Canada. If you do not pass the basic income, you are worthless. Like, worthless. They're worth less than the Conservatives are if they refuse to support a basic income. And now is the time. It really is. Now is the time. If they refuse to do it on the throne speech, and what would be so heartbreaking is if they refuse to do it and the NDP refused to do their job and actually call the election. That would be heartbreaking. That would tell me that the NDP are unreliable too, right? The NDP have one job in this arrangement, and that's to get that basic income passed. That's their only thing. And it should be do and die for these guys, right? Do or die. It should be literally like, oh, you're not passing the basic income? We're calling an election. That's where their position should be at. But the NDP are like, what annoys me, I've only got like 30 seconds left, so what annoys me about the NDP is that they are morally and ethically minded, but politically idiots. They've shown it over and over and over again. They're like not very politically astute. And so maybe they will just go along with the Liberals being like, oh yeah, it's good enough. No, it's not. If it's not a basic income, I consider it right-wing fascism. Not interested. Boring. Anyway, that's me. Description for, link, description, thing. Have fun. But like, share, subscribe. Do all the things. Love people. All the things. Fight. Etc. Get to know your neighbors. 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 All right, guys, have fun. Good luck.